Hey guys, welcome to SuperMarcelWorld. So the Blu-ray collection for House, right there, is coming out, so this is a perfect time to look back at all 4 films. So let's start with the original, the classic, the amazing House. The story. After losing his son, the recently divorced and troubled author Roger Cobb, played by William Catt, moves into an old house that he inherited to work on his experiences in the Vietnam War. Weird and unexplainable things start happening and Roger quickly realizes that something is after him. What I like. Crazy. The film is crazy and that's what makes it so much fun. It's a great combination of horror and comedy, but I don't think it's a scary movie. It has its creepy moments and there's a lot to be enjoyed. The next door neighbor. The next door neighbor, Harold Gordon, played by George Wendt, is absolutely awesome. You might also know George Wendt from his role in Cheers as Norm Peterson. This guy provides most of the laughs. His timing is excellent, his lines are funny, and his facial expressions are just brilliant. Big Ben. Big Ben is played by Richard Mole. You don't get to see him that much until the end. But when you see him, he's totally awesome. Big Ben is intimidating. He looks awesome, he's badass, and he kind of reminds me of Jason Voorhees, which is a good thing. You might also know Richard Mole from his role in Scary Movie 2, and of course as the voice of Two-Face in Batman the Animated Series. What I don't like? Nothing really, but if you allow me to nitpick, I wish the film was a little bit darker. I think at times it's a little bit too comical and too light. But that's just nitpicking. Most magical moment. There are a lot of cool scenes to choose from, but my favorite part is where Roger discovers the portal behind the mirror. It's an easy filmmaking trick, but it's so very effective. Did you know? This film has some serious connections to Friday the 13th. Why? Well, allow me to tell you. Ron Carroll, who plays Sergeant Teeny in the original Friday the 13th, also plays a police officer in this film. Sean S. Cunningham, the director and producer of Friday the 13th, also was the producer for House and its sequels. House is directed by Steve Miner, who also directed Friday the 13th Part 2 and Part 3. The score for House and its sequels is done by Harry Manfredini. Manfredini did almost all scores for all Friday the 13th films except for Jason Takes Manhattan, Freddy vs. Jason and the remake. Both films include a boy that appears to be drowning. Like Jason, the undead Big Ben has one good eye and one bad eye. Stephen Williams appears in House as a police officer. Of course, later on, in Jason Goes to Hell the Final Friday, Stephen Williams plays Creighton Duke. And last but not least, Kane Hodder, Jason Voorhees himself, was the stunt coordinator in House and its sequels. Overall, House is a great classic and has a lot to offer. Different kind of monsters, another dimension, a ghost lady, severed limbs, a big undead dead guy, and a lot more. It's a perfect combination of creatures, surprises and fun. It's the perfect 80s horror film. I give the original House 4 out of 5 chopped off hands. And now on to its terrible sequel, House 2, the second story. The film is written and directed by Ethan Wiley. Sean S. Cunningham once again produces. The story. Jesse inherits a big old creepy house and gets involved with the undead and the supernatural, looking for an ancient and magical crystal skull. What I like. Really crazy. Just like the original, House 2 is very crazy, and while that worked in the original, it doesn't work in the sequel. And it's even crazier than the first one. Now if you're looking for a weird and totally crazy ride, look no further. House 2 is definitely for you. The stop motion creatures. This was way before CGI, and stop motion is a very time consuming and slow process. And just because of that, I think you have to respect it. What I don't like, everything? No, that's not true. The absence of horror. While the first film tried to be scary with comedy, Part 2 is, well, mostly comedy. They just totally skipped the horror. And what's even worse is that it's not funny at all. Maybe it's funny if you're totally wasted, but I wouldn't know because I'm never wasted. Most magical moment. The credits. I was so glad it was over. I think you deserve a medal when you actually make it to the credits. Okay, I think I'm a little bit too harsh, but really I was glad when the credits rolled. Really. I was so glad it was over. No, there is a most magical moment. Salad, anyone? Oh my god, really? Did you know? This film has some very familiar faces. Lar Park Lincoln, who you might also know as Tina from Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. It also has a small role for Amy Yasbeck, who you might know from Problem Child 1 and 2, and The Mask. Oh, and also Jonathan Stark, who you might know as Billy Cole from the original Fright Night. Kane Hodder, Mr. Jason Voorhees himself, was the stunt coordinator for all 4 House films, and in this film he has a tiny role. Ron Carroll once again played a police officer. He did so in House 1, now in House 2, and also at the end of Friday the 13th. Composer Harry Manfredini returns to score. Overall, I think House 2 is a very painful and boring experience to sit through. You really should deserve a medal if you make it till the end. I love the original, I love the third one, but part 2, I really don't like it. This sequel fails on so many levels, it's crazy. Near the end of the film, where the big bad guy is revealed, the film picks itself up just a little, but by then it's way too late. I give this film 1.5 out of 5 crystal skulls. Sorry. And now on to House 3, which is also known as The Horror Show. The film is directed by James Isaac, who directed Jason X and Skin Crawlers. And once again, Sean S. Cunningham returns as producer. Things turn for the better with this all-horror, no-comedy, badass horror film starring Lance Henriksen. The story: Detective Lucas McCarthy, played by Lance Henriksen, captures the crazy murderer Max Janke. Janke is executed, but just like Freddy Krueger, he becomes more deadly and more powerful after his death. And now as a supernatural force, he is haunting the detective and his family. What I like: the opening. The film kicks off in high gear, showing the brutal and bloody works of the murderer Max Janke. Lance Henriksen's character, Detective Lucas McCarthy, and his partner are searching for a kidnapped girl. They stumble upon Janke's victims, or at least what's left of them. This fantastic and awesome opening of the film lets you know what you're in for. A brutal, dark and terrific ride. I just love a film that starts off this promising. Lance Henriksen. Now of course this man needs no introduction, but you're getting it anyway. The awesome actor with that iconic face and that iconic voice. Bishop in Aliens, Detective Hell in The Terminator, and also as Ed Hartley in the Pumpkinhead films. I met him once at Comic-Con and he's such a cool and friendly guy. He's really great. Janke, a fantastic role by Brian James. This guy was terrific as the crazy killer Max Janke. He has a menacing presence and a real scary and crazy look in his eyes. And he's definitely not holding back with his cleaver. Oh, and also that crazy insane laugh. Ugh. Now I'm surprised they didn't use him for another House film or maybe a spin-off film. I think you could have made a franchise out of that guy. The gore. This film is not afraid to show you the goods and I love it. The makeup and the special effects are done by the great KNB. What I don't like: the son's detective, Scott, played by Aaron Eisenberg. This guy was just really annoying. I just wanted Janke to put that cleaver right between his, well, you know. Most magical moment. It absolutely has to be the awesome electrocution of Janke. That scene was brilliant. That did not go down easily. Really. Holy a gruesome and amazing scene which is carried by Brian James and the makeup by KNB. It's awesome. Did you know? Some of the film's posters use the tagline, "You'll wish you were back on Elm Street." I think that's pretty funny. Max Janke's nickname is Meat Cleaver Max. Now the credits tell us that this film is written by Alan Smithee. For those of you who don't know, Alan Smithee is a pseudonym for a director who wants to distance him or herself from a film because he or she did not agree with the choices made of the film. According to the Internet Movie Database, Alan Warner, one of the 2 writers of the film, he was the one that used the name Alan Smithee. Why? I do not know. No connection. The producers decided to change the title of the film from The Horror Show to House 3 for the non-US market. And because of this, the following House film had to be titled House 4. There was another film in 1989 where a killer gets the electric chair and comes back as a supernatural force. This was Wes Craven's Shocker. Overall, this film is a real treat to horror fans, and if you ask me, it's the best one in the House films, even though it was not written as a House film. I think it's the bloodiest and the most enjoyable of all 4 House films. I give this film 4 out of 5 meat cleavers. And now on to House 4, The Repossession. A decent and final installment in the House series. Once again, Sean S. Cunningham returns as producer and Harry Manfredini once again returns to score, and the film is directed by Louis Abernathy. Now he didn't direct anything before this film and he did not direct anything after this film. But he did write the Pizza Man song, which we'll discuss later on in this video. The story. Roger Cobb, the character from the first House film, inherits another old house. Soon the family is confronted by weird and unexplainable things. Ooh, what I like. William Katt. William Katt returns as Roger Cobb, the character we know from the original film, The Singing Pizza. Now a pizza is delivered and the pizza guy sings a very catchy song. I'm your pizza man, I'm your pizza man. And moments later, when Kelly opens the box, the pizza comes to life and sings, "Don't forget to eat your favorite pizza, man." Now this was totally nuts, but I liked it. I thought it was funny. Terry Trees. She plays Rogers' wife, Kelly Cobb. Now her performance is not that special, but I thought she was beautiful and a fine female lead. This film could have been a lot worse with a terrible leading actress. What I don't like. Roger's son. Where is he? Where is the kid that Roger fought so hard for in the original film? They don't mention him, but suddenly he has a daughter? Now, of course, it could be that he started a new family, but for them to not explain this is weird. Verna Klump. Now, she was annoying from the second she came on screen. Really. She constantly has this dim-witted look on her face. Ugh. The dog lamp. The daughter's nightstand lamp comes to life. Now I love dogs, but this was just too silly. But you know, on the other hand, silly is what the house films are about. The waterworks. Now this was insane. Come on, this was a little bit too much, don't you think? At the end of the film, a giant stroke of water bursts out of the house and into the sky. This had me sighing in disbelief, even though we already had a singing pizza. Most magical moment. Mr. Rosso's yummy liquid. Mr. Rosso's body creates this weird, disgusting liquid in his throat, which is drained from his body by a machine. Now this is disgusting, and they just had to go a step further and pour it down some other guy's throat. Yes! Yummy. This is terribly disgusting to watch. And you know, my brain starts to get creative at the wrong time, and it creates a taste and a smell for me to enjoy during this scene. Ugh. Gross! Really gross. Now this is the only part of the film where you will look away, I promise you. Ugh. Did you know the singing pizza was played by Jason Voorhees himself, Kane Hodder? Overall, House 4 is way better than House 2 The Second Story, but it's nowhere near as great as the original or as Part 3. It's not a terrible film, it really has its moments. It just misses those few elements that could make it really great. I give this film 2.5 out of 5 singing pizzas. So that's it for the 4 house films, guys. What's your opinion on the house films? Which one do you enjoy? Which do you hate? Which one will you pick up on Blu-ray? I hear there's a box set coming with 4 films, but also a box set with 2 films. Just let me know below, we'll talk. If you have the time, subscribe or maybe check out one of the other videos. And of course, as always, I hope to see you back next weekend. Bye!